start before that.
I thought it was, so I keep it that time, and it wasn't, I can't try to waste the battery,
I'm
so.
always yes to break. Yeah. That was my birthday. Did you get into how much? Not enough, right?
How big is it?
It's ready to go on my computer. Just big enough to have done that, right?
Where's that? My report. How you doing? Drum roll. I don't think we have any Googlers present. Okay, the clock on the wall does say 1 o'clock now, so we will officially come to order. I'd like to welcome everybody. Note the absence of Chuck Surface from the board table, and we want to send him our best wishes. Last month, I started trying to formulate some thoughts about shared governance in our ongoing efforts to educate ourselves better and to operationalize the really wonderful mechanisms that we have put in place on this campus the last 2 or 3 years, 4 years. So I have a statement to read today, and we will post this in other places like we did last month. Shared governance prescribes various roles, responsibilities, and decision-making authority. There must be mutual respect for one another's respective authority, transparent communications between groups, and clear understanding of how collaboration is operationalized. The Association of Governing Boards of Universities and Colleges recognizes that not all decision-making processes are clear-cut, and that there can be overlapping responsibilities and authority for various campus decisions. The AGB recommends that, quote, each group should understand whether its purview, as well as that of others in the governance process, is determinative, consultative, or informational. I think that we cannot simply assume that we understand our particular group's role in a particular decision-making process. And we must keep in mind that a group's purview changes depending on the type of decision that is pending. So I encourage all of us to remain conscious of the need to clarify the functions of our shared governance entities, to determine our determinative, consultative, or informational roles as we approach various decisions, and to respect one another's responsibilities. With that said, are there any other announcements? Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I must say that your comments were received very positively from everybody I talked to last month, so this is I think, a very good step.
Thank you. We will continue to grow and learn together, since it's shared governance is relatively new to this campus. Everyone's had a chance to review the minutes from August 17th.
Move to accept.
Mr. Anderson has moved to accept them as written.
Second.
Ms. Weishaker has seconded. Any comments, questions, additions, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, then they will stand as written. We'll move to reports from Ms. Ice, our treasurer. Start with financials.
Thank you and good afternoon. We look at the financial statements for the period ending August 31st of 2012, and we'll look at the cash graph, and it is reflecting cash at $10.2 million. This is a decrease over the prior year of $4.7 million, but keep in mind that we began the year with a $4 million decrease at the end of FY12. As we move on to the statement of net assets, it reflects accounts receivable of $14.7 million, and this is always high in August because this reflects primarily student accounts, and this will be significantly reduced when we see the September financials because by then financial aid will have dispersed out and paid off the accounts of the students' tuition and fees. We will make our semi-annual bond payment at the end of September, which will be $1.5 million. And looking at the statement of net assets, we have total assets of $133 million. We have total liabilities of $30 million. And we have total net assets of $103 million. The next statement is the comparative statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net assets. We always look at the difference column, which compares this year to the prior year. Total operating revenues shows a decrease of $1 million. Total operating expenses show a decrease of $1.2 million. You'll note on there that it reflects an increase on compensation and benefits, but one of the explanation notes at the bottom indicates that basically it is due to 3 pay periods in August of this year, where last year we only had 2 pay periods. So it's the timing of that on the calendar. Contract services also reflects some timing of some different payments for software and maintenance contracts that we have. Appropriations reflects the increase of $12,000. And when we look at the when we look at the increase or decrease in net assets, the current year reflects an increase of $13.2 million. The prior year shows an increase of $15.5 million, and this results in a comparative difference showing a decrease of $2.3 million as of August 31. As stated at the last board meeting, we are on track to present the annual audit at the October board meeting. And the Board Budget Audit Committee will meet on Tuesday evening, October 9th at 5:30 to review the audit. And on behalf of Rod Anderson, Sheriff Buchanan, we invite everyone to attend this meeting.
Any questions for Linda? Thank you. Need a motion to accept her report as presented. Mr. Ewing, I need a second.
Second.
Mr. Fleischaker has seconded. Any discussion? All in favor of accepting it as written? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Mr. Hughes, we'll move on to you then.
Thank you. Give you an extremely brief construction report. We really only have one item on the docket, and that is the stadium. If anybody's been over by the stadium recently, there's a very large temporary end zone facility on the south end zone, and that was compliments of a donor for Darrell Day, which turned out great. We're just wrapping that project up. We have a few more things to do. I think they're going to put some logos on the sides of it, and then fix the sides of it a little better, and some additional seating inside the facility. But it's got a rubberized floor now. It's going to be very, very good for our football players to have their meetings in there. On a side note on that, there was a tent temporarily at the President's tent location that we had up for probably 2 hours. 2 hours. 2 hours. And then a windstorm came through and blew it away. Anyway, we'll
Permanently away.
Permanently away. We will have a.
That may be a message here.
We will have a tent, a rental tent up comparable to the ones we had last year for the rest of the season, and then we'll research what we want to do more permanently in that location. That's it for construction. As far as program prioritization, the non-academic affairs folks have met. We met a couple of times this week. We'll meet again in the next week or two until we can hammer this thing out. It's a little more challenging on our side. Dr. Lapira has done a phenomenal job on her side and pretty much has her templates done, ready to roll with it. We've taken hers. Our thought process in going down this path is that when we have a committee together that's going to be reviewing all the programs, we would like for them to have a comparable methodology to the review process, so as not different from their side versus the non-academic side. So we're taking Dr. Lapira's templates and kind of adapted to our side, which is a little more challenging because there's a lot of differences even between all of us. Athletics has fundraising revenue stream, so does Joanne has that. We do not. Darren does not. So it's a little more challenging, but we're working through that, and we should have that down here in the next week or so that we can send it out.
I'm sure you're gonna enlighten us even more in the future, but be interested on the non-academic side, how you determine the priority of needs and also how you track expenditures.
And we will give you that information
I'm looking forward to it.
as we go forward at this process. It is challenging.
Gotta turn at the end. Is that the single the
That
end
must
of
be
it?
the end of it, right?
Let me have that phone, please.
Any questions for Mr. Hughes? Thank you. Move then to our athletic director, Mr. Brueggemann.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Few updates. One is to update you on the linebacker membership. Currently, we're at 251. Our goal was to have 75 new members in celebration of the 75th anniversary of Missouri Southern. And currently, our donations for the annual campaign is at $83,450, which is up from last year, which was $70,000. So it's up substantially. I did give you a packet, and in that packet it's got a lot more information detailing anything that you would like to, but in the effort to keep it brief, I did include a complete schedule for until the next month of activities that are occurring in the ethics department, including fundraisers, Lion Pride luncheons, socials, even, for example, this weekend we have the Hall of Fame, which we'll talk more about, as well as we have an alumni gathering for baseball. They're gathering tonight, and they'll also have a golf tournament tomorrow, with about 100 of them coming back. So there's quite a few things going on, and feel free to invite yourself or let us know if you want to attend any of those functions. We'll be happy to have you there. As far as the ISSG and the NCAA compliance blueprint review, we have met with President's Council regarding the subcommittees of those, and that will be going out to the committee members, notifying them that they have been selected positively for that, and then they can of course choose not to be a member. However, that will be going out this week, and we look forward to getting the process going since we do have that due in June of this year. Regarding the Hall of Fame, I had given you the information last time with the Hall of Fame members, but I just want to remind you, if you would like to attend any of the functions, we do have a social this evening as well. Besides the baseball social, we also have a Hall of Fame social from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Alumni House. And it will have the Hall of Fame inductees there and their families. We have the luncheon tomorrow at noon in the ballroom next door, and that'll go for about 2 hours, where they do their induction ceremony as far as their speeches and talk about their experiences and are introduced by somebody they've chosen. As well as immediately following that, there will be a soccer-only function at the Alumni House for Dr. Hal Bowden. He has quite a few of his previous athletes have returned from all around the world, actually, and they want to do a presentation at that, and Dr. Speck will be there as part of that ceremony as well. And then at the halftime of the football game, about 5 o'clock, we will have all the new Hall of Fame members being introduced to the fans, as well as behind them we have previous Hall of Famers such as Dr. Pat Lapira and other folks, and so we look forward to having all of those members back. I did want to give a report about the Stampede. If you're not familiar with what the Stampede is, we had 8 races this year, which is the largest number of races we've had on the cross-country course. It was JV, varsity, and as far as the high schools, as well as a college division and a university division. There were 1,949 runners, with approximately 90 university or colleges and about 100 high school teams were present. The weather was not great. We got about 4.5 inches of rain in a 26-hour period. Our cross-country course doesn't look like a cross-country course right now, but we're going to repair that for nationals. It does bring in a lot of revenue into Joplin, and if we say it's a win-win-win. We say it's a win for Missouri Southern by having 1,900 people on our campus and with 100 high schools. We feel it's a win for Joplin as far as all the resources that our people are expending in the city. And it's also great for the experience to be in that size of a meet as far as for the athletes themselves. So we're very pleased to have that. The reason why I mention that is that there's a lot of people that need to be thanked, and I want to do it publicly. First, our coaches really put that together, and it's been in its 20th year now, or 21st year, and it's developed over time from Tom Rutledge. The First to the Finish was the first time we've actually had a sponsor, so it was called the First to the Finish. It's a company that does apparel, and they set up tents and sold their apparel at that. Our student athletes from all of our sports work the event, including the finish line judges were our women's basketball, which really means that all they do is they drag the athlete when they collapse through the mud and get them out of the way. And they also take off, they wear chips in their shoes now. You have to take the chips off before you can leave the corral. And so they take those off as well. And then Freeman Health Systems, their vehicle was stuck there for a week, but now they were able to get it out yesterday. But they do a lot of work. They have a lot of doctors and physicians and nurses on staff who show up and are there for, when you have that many athletes running, all sorts of things happen. As well as all the university staff, we had not just in athletics, but other people outside the athletics, IT, and many folks were involved in that, including we had some faculty, so we really appreciate their support. That concludes my report. Any questions?
What time is the game tomorrow?
6 o'clock.
It's 6 o'clock, okay. Okay, it's a presentation at halftime.
Oh, I said 5. I'm sorry, yeah. So it'll be 7.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, my fault.
And secondly, is there something special going on Sunday with one of our famous alumni?
Yes, Rod Smith.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. That was in the last week's, or last time's report. Yeah, Rod Smith will be inducted into the Denver Broncos Ring of Fame on Sunday, and we will have people out there taking pictures and supporting them as that occurs on Sunday. So,
Great.
thank you.
Anything else? Thank you. Ms. Graffam.
Thank you. So we'll start off with 75th anniversary. As we talked about last time, we got off to a good start in August, and since our last meeting, we had the home opener in football, which was, I think, a wonderful event. As Mr. Bergman had told you, celebrating the 72 National Championship football team at that game. And we also ended it with a bang, if you were there. We had a tremendous fireworks display thanks to our sponsor, Jake's Fireworks. So for those of you that weren't able to be there, the end of it was all green and gold for quite a bit, and it was just fabulous, and we really, really enjoyed that. So it was a lot of fun. And also kicked off that night was also the Lions Lineage, which is something athletics has also worked on in terms of 75 pivotal moments in athletics. And that's a collaborative effort with the Joplin Globe, and we're very excited about that. So those 75 moments are posted on the Joplin Globe website. If you go to joplinglobe.com/lions, you can go in and vote. And the top 13 vote getters will then be turned into a calendar that will be distributed later this year. So it's another exciting partnership and another fun thing that we have going on. So, and as you'll notice when we talk about anniversary things from different departments, because we really this time are doing it as a collaborative effort, so that there are pieces that our athletics are doing, that student affairs are doing, that alumni is doing, and faculty, and it's just, so it's really a joint effort, and it's making, I think, everybody's life a lot easier, even though it's still a lot going on, but it's very good. The next big thing in the anniversary is certainly homecoming. You do have the brochure at your place that was sent out to the alumni. This includes, when you look at the activities, includes a number of the student activity sponsored events as well. Anything that was open to anyone, we've included, whether it was student affairs or alumni driven. There are a few things that the students are doing that are only open to the students, so those aren't included in there, but there's a broader list in there that you'll see of all sorts of fun things that are going on. And you will be hearing from Sharon as usual. We'll send an email out to the Board of Governors so that you can let us know which events you would like to participate in and come to. Wanted to note at the brunch and parade and things, we're certainly honoring a number of people that you'll also see there in your in the brochure. And included this year are as usual, we have an outstanding alumni. But while we usually have one, this year we're having 3, and that's in honor of the 75 years. So what the group did was looked at the first 25 years, the second 25 years, and the last 25 years, and selected someone from each of those years. And this year we have Carol Parker, who graduated in 1954, and I think most people in the room probably know who Carol Parker is. I see a lot of grins and nodding heads. She's just phenomenal and has done a lot of things on television, obviously, in the community over the years. So we're excited to honor Carol. We also have Mike Moore, who's an 87 graduate, who is currently the Executive Vice President and President of Walmart Central. So he leads the Central Geographic Business Unit of Walmart USA. So we're excited to have him back, as well as Brian Vowles, who's a 92 graduated and is the manager for Wells Fargo here. And Brian has been a wonderful, wonderful partner to the university over the years as well. He and his wife actually started a single parent scholarship program called Aspire, and I think some people are familiar with that. We work with them here at the university. So some terrific alum that we're very proud of and looking forward to honoring all of them. And it's important to know too that we're working with each of them to come back and speak to our students during that week, or the Friday, October 5th. We're working with the School of Business and with Communications for them to come in and give presentations to the students. So we're excited about that. And also want to point out that Brad Belk, many of you also know Brad, is the Executive Director of the Joplin Museum Complex, who is our Lionhearted recipient, award winner recipient this year, which is for someone who's not a graduate of Missouri Southern, but who has given tremendously to the institution. And I think you all can agree that he's done a lot and currently is. He is leading the charge for our history book, which is coming along nicely. So he's doing that. He's done the video. He serves on our board. He's just done a lot for the university over the years, so we're excited to be honoring him. In the development world, unfortunately, Kevin Grime, our major gifts officer, has moved on to Missouri State, his alma mater. So if you haven't heard that, we have just posted that position this week, and we'll be looking for 2 major gift officers actually. So we're missing Kevin, but it was just a great opportunity for him at his alma mater. So we're very, very happy for him. But, and also to remind you that the MSSU Gala Concert is coming up October 4th, and it's part of the homecoming activities, but that's our annual fundraiser for the music department. And we're looking forward to that. And a new addition this year is the Drumline. So the Drumline will also be participating in that, as well as Southern Exposure and the Jazz Orchestra. And we're adding a couple things this year. We're doing, we've done personal invitations to all our Lanyard Society members and Legacy Society members and all music donors to try to help build the interest in that and doing some special things for them. So looking forward to that event as always. Resource Development Center, I wanted to point out that we talked last time about the National Day of Service activities that were coming up, and that's part of that 3-year grant that we received from the Corporation of National and Community Service. And as a result of the activities that they had going on around September 11th, which is how that started, is we had more than 1,300 volunteers over the course of that time that participated through Stars of Hope, the trip to Minot, North Dakota, preparing goodie bags to go to servicemen and women, and working with Habitat for Humanity too. We actually had one other activity plan that got rained out in that big storm, so we'll save that for another day. But lots of tremendous volunteerism during those few days. On University Relations and Marketing, we are also working on some staffing there. We had a graphic designer who's retired, and so we have advertised that position. The review starts on Monday. We've got some really strong applicants, so we're looking forward to that. We wanted to let you know that since our last board meeting, because I don't think I had this in my report last time, unfortunately, but since our last meeting, we were the presenting sponsor for the Chamber Golf Tournament, the Joplin Area Chamber Golf Tournament this year, which is a lot of fun. Had a really good visibility with the business community during that event. Had designed Missouri Southern flags that were on each of the pins at each holes. Had a hole where we had a water station, and we were giving away cups and pins and notepads and all kinds of things like that, and a lot of signage and things around the event. So it was a lot of fun. We have 10 new billboards that you're going to be seeing going up around the community over the next month or so. So keep an eye out for that. Working on another new commercial as well for Lion Pride Tuition, and making some real strong progress in our social media. We've certainly made some changes to our Facebook page, and thanks to our student photographers and our student designers and all the input from the staff over in University Relations and Marketing, we're getting a lot of progress there. We've added about more than 500 likes in the last, which is important for the way the page is structured. Facebook, so that's an important statistic for us, and that's happened over the last few months. So obviously more detail in the written report, but if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Thank you. It was a mouthful.
What else have you been doing?
Yeah, we're just kind of bored.
Well, you can fix that, right?
I take that back.
Any other questions or comments?
Joanne, did you eat too much dessert?
Yes, we were laughing about the sugary dessert we had, and I talked really fast because of the sugar.
We appreciate that.
Well, I particularly want to commend Joanne, because when she took over this position, the 75th anniversary celebration was already started, and so she chaired that, and she's done a wonderful job. And so a lot of extra work for her, but thank you very much for what you've done on that, Joanne.
I'll make a comment too. I wasn't going to make it, but since you mentioned that you may be lacking something to do, I was talking to one of the people out here this week that does not work for Joanne or affiliated with her, and I was talking about some ideas for marketing, getting her involved. That individual kind of politely told me lay off her. She's got her fill right now. She doesn't need more work.
Was this yours?
That one's not mine. I think that one's
Right,
Darren's.
okay.
Yeah.
Still look from Joanne.
Okay, we'll move along to academic affairs. Dr. LaPira.
Okay, thank you. A few things that I want to mention have gone on here on the academic side. Our industrial engineering technology degree just become our most newly accredited program, and we are really excited about that. They actually had a reception, well attended, a lot of great people spoke, students from the program, employers that have hired the students, and it was a really neat ceremony, and congratulations to Elka Howe and her department on that. The Teacher Education Department recently received a grant. It's called the Simple K-12 Teacher Learning Community. And everybody on campus, all the faculty actually have a year free access to online teachers learning community. And lots of, Dr. Cade spoke at the department chair meeting yesterday. There's just a lot of technology and resources that teachers would use in their classroom, and the grant allows that to have free access, allows our whole school to have free access for a year. So we congratulate Dr. Cade and his department on that. We also have an innovative campus grant that was given to us through the Missouri Department of Economic Development. This is a much more complicated grant. It's $1 million, and the premise is that Joplin High School students would take dual credit classes up to 30 hours while they're in high school, so that when they come to either Missouri Southern or Crowder, they could complete their degree in 3 years and then get into the workforce, be employed, get jobs. And it's really, we're working through the chamber, we're working with Franklin Tech, Crowder, and Missouri Southern, and there is a lot to this partnership, and they're still working out kinks, but we've had a couple productive meetings in terms of how to get this process started on at least on the side of the schools, and the chamber's working with getting folks to buy into this. We want to hire your students. So congratulations and thank you to Dr. Tia Straight for her work in preparing the proposal, and we'll see where that goes. Social Sciences had an alumni event at the Ralph Gray Alumni Center, and that was nice. I went to that, and it just kind of reminded me how critical it is for at the department level to reach out to your alumni, and because alumni tend to come back when they have a group to come back for, whether it be athletics or a club, or in this case their social science department. And I thought it was a nice event, and I'd like to hopefully encourage other departments to reach out to their alumni. Rob mentioned program prioritization. That's been an amazing process, a lot of hours. I want to thank Crystal Lemons, my assistant. The two of us have worked diligently on trying to prepare, and can't thank Dolores Honey's area enough for providing us data, and Jeff Gibson has worked with us a lot providing financial data, and we're trying to stay on the timetable we established, which means by October 1 we hope to have in every program chair or director's hand a flash drive with their customized information as much as we can. The data is in the tables, a lot of narrative. We've created rubrics to score each template. We've created scorecards. Areas are weighted. I know y'all will be anxious to see. It's quite a process, and then we'll have to have a group that evaluates all those. And so we'll see how that goes. We previewed our report template at the Dean's Department Chair meeting yesterday, and kind of gave them an idea of what it is they're going to be gathering. And Crystal and I created a kind of a cover page with resources. Where do I find this information? From career services to websites on external demand, program review reports, assessment plans. There's lots of resources that they have to tap into to complete this. So that's a big process. We had already we already knew dual credit and continuing ed were two areas we really need to dive into even before we got this grant. But now I think it's even become more important that we look at dual credit. We're really way behind most schools in the state on the number of credit hours we're generating through dual credit, and so we really want to emphasize that and work on improving that area. And then the last thing on the first page of the report is just that we have been working very hard also on addressing the board's concerns on faculty promotions, and that I know you expressed those, and we're working hard to get back with you on that. The second page is we focus on faculty. I know a lot of times the faculty are doing great things, but we don't share that with anyone. And so we are really pushing, and Cassie in marketing she came to our deans and department chair meeting, and she's really pushing for give us your positive stories, give us your stories. So between her and Noel Levitt saying quality academic programs are key, and we just said we have got to get this out there on the website and on our own campus to the board, everybody share. We don't even know cross campus sometimes, maybe English. We have on here, we had an English professor that has published a book, and it's on Amazon. Do they know that in sociology? So we want to get that out there, and this whole page are different presentations, publications. There's a cool collaboration between math and Joplin East Middle School and teacher ed, and what they're doing with those kids at the middle school. And we just want to get all this out there, and Crystal and I have talked about coming up with a Focus on Faculty newsletter that we want to have out regularly, that really focuses on what is it our faculty are doing, some of the neat collaborations, grants, whatever it is. So that's what we really want to do, because we think we're doing some great things. We just keep it a secret sometimes. So
I want those secrets. This is excellent. And things like the wonderful article the Globe did recently on Dr. Guevara's interest in the spirit houses and things like that. We just need to be tooting our own horn a little bit.
yeah, that's what we got to do.
Pat, one thing that the Springfield paper does every Monday edition is they take the second page and devote it to various universities in the Springfield area on whatever PR they want to put in. And a lot of it has faculty on what achievements they've got or what promotions they've got or whatever the situation is, and then student achieved stuff. And so they take one page with all the universities in it. So it might be something.
You hear that, Cassie? But if we create a newsletter, that gives the information. I mean, the whole key is to all these media folks, we have to provide them the information. We can't expect them to come digging it up. So if we do make that accessible, they'll be more likely to write an article or, do some kind of a, let folks know. So, but it's up to us. And I think what's going to happen when we start this newsletter is there's going to be a department going, hey, well, we do that, and I think it's just they want to get on board. So if we get that out there, I think it'll be great.
There'll be lots of ways to repurpose that, whether, like you said, on campus, sharing it with each other, but obviously sharing it through university relations and marketing, for news stories, for the web, for social media. There are all kinds of ways that we can use that, so it's great.
And we want to also, one of the things Noel Levitz has said, it's so critical to get our students, get their faces on the web, get their comments, some of their great internships, some of their great jobs. And so I even feel like we need a student part of the component. Just like the student down there at the accreditation, he just bragged about Missouri Southern, and that's what we need. We need the students saying that and sharing that with folks. So that's my report.
Thank you. We'll move to student affairs and hear from Mr. Fullerton.
Dr. Buchanan asked about the photos that you have in front of you, and this is just an example. And again, these are not just student affairs folks, but to let you know how Missouri Southern is pulling together to get out in the community. The first 3 pages were in the August Show Me the Ozarks magazine, and then the last 3 to 4 pages was in the September magazine. And you can see the first 2 is kind of a cover spread, and you can see very prominent the Missouri Southern gazebo that our folks have been working since April at the 3rd Thursday. And so not only do we have our art students down there every month at Focal Point, but we've had various faculty and staff at the third Thursday representing Missouri Southern. John Hacker did a great shot of Webster Hall for the big picture. It looks much better in the magazine. I apologize for that. But then the last two are 75 years of Lion Pride. And I thought that was a great feature in those magazines, because we do have a lot of people that are investing a lot of time. We had excellent turnout, as you know, last month when Southern was the sponsor, but we have people down there every month representing the support side, the academic side, and admissions folks, just trying to get the word out about the good things that we're doing here at Missouri Southern. So I thought you'd appreciate that. So you have a very lengthy report in front of you, so I'll just highlight some of those things. And Dr. Lapierre has mentioned Noel Levitt's several times. I want to give you an idea of some of the things that faculty and staff have been doing with Noel Levitt's over the last month. Basically, we have been working on the following projects, and these are not, this is not an all-inclusive list. These are just the list of new projects that were initiated this last month. We have several projects that are still running concurrent to these. But we have the student retention planning visit, student recruitment visit, student predictor model. The student predictor model is actually a computerized, they examined about 100 different variables of our students. Everything from the high school that they went to, ACT, income levels, self-reported data, and they made a predictive model. So every student, incoming freshman student, will be assigned a number, and we will be examining those variables to see, are the students at risk for more variables or not. Students that have a greater financial need maybe have higher risk factor in this certain area. Student that may have a different ACT, and the interesting thing is, if you're looking at one of these variables on its own, it can be very skewed. But they're looking at all of these variables to try to determine where our students are and where we need to be providing outreach to those students. And to give you an idea of just these projects that we've worked on, and these are just the hours I know of, faculty and staff either meeting with Noel Levitt's or working in committee meetings have put in at least 42 hours this last month on the Noel Levitt's project. And that is just the ones that we know about. There are probably committees out there that I didn't know were meeting, and projects that are going on. So I think that's very important. And we've talked about program prioritization and all the other multitude of things that are going on campus. And so I just point that out so that you do know that the folks on campus are extremely involved in the process of all of these activities and are representing the university well in this process. So some of the other promotional events that we had, you may have, if you got up early, you may have seen Hank Rotten, and we were broadcasting from this building downstairs in the recreation center, and actually was able to get Hank in the water massage machine down there. But in the meantime, we were able to talk about Missouri Southern, the great things going on here, this facility, but then also the 75th anniversary events, and so we were proud of that. Our Career Services Office has made a connection through the Chamber with some national organizations, and you'll see there we were contacted locally to help them advertise for a production assistant when American Idol was in town, and so one of our students was able to go and basically lug equipment around and assist and direct folks. We were also contacted by the Food Network. We provided access to about 40 to 50 different volunteers that volunteered for the Boys and Girls Club, in addition to 14 Missouri Southern staff members that actually went down and were there for the full day and will actually be aired, I believe it's in November, on Restaurant Impossible episode, wearing the 75th anniversary shirts. And we heard nothing but positive things. They were so pleased with our folks that went down. That was a great endeavor for us, and our people loved it. They got to go down and do some great things and help out the Boys and Girls Club. So, Student Success Center, just a couple things to let you know there. Our high school tutor day, where we are bringing in tutors from the area high schools and training them, is scheduled for October. We are also developing tutoring partnerships. Traditionally, the Student Success Center used to be called the Learning Center. provides tutoring for the lower division classes. But again, looking at some of the programs, we have specific departments that we are working closely with. We've always had excellent relationships with math and science, the Upward Bound. Now we have EMS and paramedic. We even have a tutor, I think, for organic chem and some of those areas, and so it is definitely getting beyond just the lower division courses in some of these. We also sent members of the Student Success Center to supplemental instruction training in Kansas City, and that they will be coming back and working with the faculty on trying to develop supplemental methods that we can take back out to the departments, more study groups, some peer mentoring, and try to strengthen that relationship with the academic departments as well. Advising, counseling, and testing, we conducted a Master Advisor training workshop for 9 new faculty and staff. They worked with Noel Levitz to do the college student inventory assessment with cooperation and collaboration with the first year experience program. The admissions department wanted to let you know again, and Pat, I think, makes a great point. There's so much going on with faculty and staff. There's so much going on with everyone from the university. We weren't aware of one of our international students, Thomas Reinheimer, and I'm sure I'm messing up Thomas's name. He's one of our exchange students from Ansbach. He actually has been adopted by Tony Valier with KSN as a friendship family. So he was able to be on television at least 2 different occasions. One is quite humorous. It's a cooking episode, so he gets to sample. So if you haven't seen those, they're on the KSN website. So, talking about admissions, I wanted to update you on enrollment. The overall head count for the fall, 5,417 students, with total credit hour production of 64,954. And if you ask where that falls, we are down approximately 3% overall head count, and just down about a little over 1% in credit production. The thing that we want to stress, we have so many areas where the numbers are up. We've experienced an 8.9% increase in our out-of-state students due to the Lion Pride tuition. We have experienced approximately an 8% increase in graduate students, 4.7% increase in our distance learning. First-time freshmen, up a total of 3.5%. We have almost doubled the number of international students. Normally, we would have less than 50 new international students coming in. We have a total of 75 new international students, and we're at about 152 total, which is an all-time high here at Missouri Southern. And so a lot of great things going on. One of the things in Joanne's report that she did not address, we have awarded over 100 of the Lion Pride Joplin scholarships, or the Lion Support Joplin Tornado scholarships. In Joanne's report, they have had almost 100 applications for a separate tornado fund, tornado assistance fund. And so, again, we've had over 200 students total that are still applying for some form of tornado assistance. And so we just want you to know that we are still reaching out to our students and making sure that we're doing what we can to get them back in and get their lives back on track as quickly as they can. Madam Chair, that is my official report. I do have one other item, if there are no questions on that.
I have one question.
Yes, Mr. Chief.
What can you tell us, to what can you attribute, if you can, the increase in the international student population?
We made some adjustments in staffing in that area, and right now we have our international student services support person working hand in glove with our international recruiter. And so by pulling them together, they've been able to share duties and be much more efficient. And they've just done an excellent job. They're doing outreach. They're reaching out to our partners in addition with working with Dr. Stebbins and the International Institute. And so it's definitely a collaborative effort. the faculty, and being able to offer the programs the students are interested in. But it's just being able to make those connections. We're really working with the institutes that we have, the international schools that we already have agreements with, and so we're trying to focus more on those current partnerships as opposed to expanding to new schools.
I've got a follow-up on it. Did we get a significant increase, significant increase from any particular one or two countries?
That I'll have to see. We still are looking at that data that's coming in, but I'll be happy to get that to you, Mr. Walters.
My follow-up is, are they freshmen or transfers?
Um,
Is there a JUCO that we're getting a lot of international?
The internationals? It's a little bit of both. That's one of the data pieces that we're waiting on, but there's we have enhanced the relationship with the local community colleges and junior colleges, but then we also have, as part of our partner agreements, some of the international students are considered transfer students, but they're here like with the Ansbach exchange, where they're only here for a year, and then they will go back to Ansbach and study. And so it's kind of a combination of all the above.
Anything else? Do you want to do your next piece then?
Yes, if we could. With us today, we have Brian, and I always butcher Brian's name, from Zaglia. Close enough, Brian? Director of Percussion Studies and Director of the Athletic Bands. For a period of time, we've had this focus on students, and I convinced Sharon to take it off because we've been so busy we haven't done it. I had Brian on tap beforehand, so Brian's not on the agenda, but Brian's going to talk to you about the Drumline and their outreach on behalf of Missouri Southern and exactly what they're doing with the music program. So, Brian?
I'll get to this in a minute. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Darren asked me to speak a little bit about what's going on with the Drumline. So those of you that are unfamiliar, the Missouri Southern Drumline has actually been tabbed as the official drumline of the Kansas City Royals. So for the past 2 seasons, we have been going up there performing at home games. 2 years ago, we did 8 games. This past season, they contracted us to 16 games, all 4 days of the All-Star, and actually we are packing the vehicles right now for our last game of the season today. So since March, the Drumline itself has performed regionally as well as internationally. We've done a lot of MSSU sporting events, whether it's the football games, the basketball games. We've performed at 2 Joplin Thursdays. We were up in Kansas City for the Cystic Fibrosis Walk. We've played for a minor league hockey team. There's the Kansas City Royals. We did the MLB All-Star Week. In addition to that, we have also been on ESPN, TBS, TNT, 4 Fox Sports networks. And while we were in Serbia, the Drumline took a trip to Serbia this year. The first morning we got there, after a extensive travel delay, they said, well, you're on TV. So we put the drums on, and we played the first morning out. 2 days later, we found out that it was the set that they shoot their version of Big Brother on, and the audience that morning was 26.2 million people. So I'm glad we didn't know that when we started. Recently, we played for the United Way kickoff event and the MSSU send-off rally for the Miners North Dakota workers. These are all the media outlets that we've been seen in since March. Fox Sports Kansas City did a 5-minute feature on us, everything from the tornado to our connection to the university to how we got to be the Royals Drumline. And then there's everything from YouTube to the Joplin Globe, kansascity.com, Twitter, Facebook. I'm always on Twitter and Facebook after we play to see if anyone's posted any new YouTube clips or how we're trending and all that stuff. So it's been really interesting. Out of all of that, we have been invited to make many performances. These are the ones that we have committed to. Carl Junction High School has a program where they're encouraging their seniors to enroll in college. So they asked us to be one of their featured performing groups for one of their rallies. I think that's going to be great to get our exposure into the local schools. Cerner Pharmaceutical, the morning or the afternoon of the All-Star game, guy came up and said, do you have a business card? I said, sure. 2 weeks later, I got a call and they said, well, I'm in charge of Cerner Pharmaceutical. We have our international retreat that's held in Livestrong Park up in Kansas City. So on October 11th, we're going to be playing for over 10,000 people in Livestrong Park. Tom Rutledge has asked us to be the feature entertainment for the NCAA Cross Country National Championships. We did that again, and I'll come back to that one. And we are performing at the MSSU Music Gala. So the direct impact we have on MSSU. We are very fortunate and very grateful to President's Council. They have agreed to acquire new drums. And the new drums that we are purchasing, Missouri Southern Yellow, Fade. So these are hand custom drums made in Japan. They take 8 months to make. So they will be here just in time for things to kick off for next year. So with that, pending budget approval is the favorite word. The Kansas City Royals, assuming they contract us for another season, every time the drumline plays, they will announce from the campus of Missouri Southern State University in Joplin. So we will be well represented in Kauffman Stadium. The things that we've done as far as the positive press, recruiting, and retention of current and also future students. In a 1 month span, in July, we were seen by over 30 million viewers. Over the last 2 years, we've been seen by over 88.2 million. This year alone, we have 7 new members of the drumline. We have 1 international student from our trip to Belgrade. We have another one coming next year from Belgrade. And we have a transfer student from Arkansas. The rest are just traditional first semester freshmen. The spring, we'll bring in more, and I anticipate at least another 6 to 7 students enrolling for the drumline participation. And the thing that we're proud of is Missouri Southern is the only institution in higher education in the entire world that has a connection to a professional sports team. We stand alone as a leader in this category. We're a direct competitor, Tier 1 research institution. No one can recruit and retain students with the opportunities that we can. So here's a picture of the group right before the All-Star game. They gave us those uniforms because Adidas was not an official sponsor and MLB wouldn't put us on TV. So change. This is a performance. We're, again, thankful. Part of the Student Senate helped fund our trip along with international studies. The athletic department, the music department, the foundation. So one of the things that we said, when we go over to Serbia, we are representing Missouri Southern, not the Royal Thunder Drumline. So this is a performance. We played 3 different areas. This was on a river boat. That's the big thing. They have nightclubs on boats. It's really cool. And we all got seasick. So there's that. This is us performing during the All-Star game. Kauffman is full, never happens. And this is where they put us during the game. We're out in front of the fountains. So we're surrounded by people. Everyone's always coming up asking us, where are you from? Is this a high school? Is it a college? So we are always proud to say we're from Missouri Southern.
Guys, they won't know that high school.
Well, the last time I just looked at someone and said, do I look like I'm in high school? So the future and where we're looking to go. Missouri Southern, we're very fortunate, is going to host the MCCGA, which is the Indoor Drumline Percussion Circuit Championships in April. What this is going to do for us is the equivalent of the Southern Stampede for the athletic department. It's going to generate revenue to allow the drumline to become self-sustainable over time. Through all of our performances, we are starting to charge what we call equipment rental fees, where it is appropriate. Naturally, if we have a high school that wants us to come out and do recruiting, we're not going to charge them. That is for the good of Missouri Southern. But for example, the Cerner Pharmaceutical, they have the money, and we're going to ask for the fee. And all funds will go through the Missouri Southern Foundation, where we have actually already set up a drumline account. So I know that there were a couple of questions last week about the blue shorts and the blue shoes. One of the things that we are very fortunate is that Jared in the athletic department has been very supportive of us, and we are very thankful. So Adidas could not fill the grandiose order of the Lion Pride Marching Band and Drumline with their shirts and shorts. So we kind of scrambled at the last second, and these are our band shirts, which is what the drumline was wearing. And we have the little lion on top. So these will go under their black band pants, so you will see this every time they're walking around. The blue shorts came about because that's part of our Royals uniform, and apparently 22 pairs of green shorts can't be filled in time. So we went with something that was uniform. Something else you will see, actually tomorrow, Tom Rutledge actually bought these for the drumline. So these are going on our drums. So these will become a staple for football games. And on a side note, we did get new flags for the color guard. So branding. But I want to say thank you. We were very fortunate and we were very pleased to represent Missouri Southern. So that's all I have. If you have any questions.
Brian, were you here when the last national cross-country meeting?
Yes, I was.
Okay, but that was such a tremendous opening. I know Dwight and I went there, and if anybody has a chance to go to that opening, try to make it on your calendar, because it was a fantastic opening.
We're going to try not to stage the last one. So.
Did you bring drumsticks?
No. They're getting packed in the car.
No performance today.
What's the drum, the special drum, Japanese drum? What does it do that others can't?
Well, the main difference between this one and the ones that we have now, this is chrome hardware. So we have bling finally. The shells themselves are all hand-dipped. They are custom made by hand, so it doesn't come off an assembly line. So it is.
Is there more crisp sound, or?
Well, it's a higher end product, so you are going to hear a drastic difference in sound from the drum line.
Well, we've been pretty impressed with what we've
Yeah.
been hearing. So.
Well, the other thing too, I think when Brian talked to us, is that these drums will last 10 years.
The average life expectancy is about 10 years. So.
And we're going to do something novel. We're going to get cases for them, so
Yeah.
they can transport them in cases, so it'll help protect them. That'll be good.
And the advantage we have is with the old drums, the parts are interchangeable. So if something like a lug were to bust, we have the replacement parts readily accessible. But ultimately what we're going to do is we're going to take the old drums and beat them into the ground so we can protect the life of these as long as possible. So.
I want to commend Brian because he represents what I consider the entrepreneurial spirit that we need throughout campus. He's a go-getter. He's an expensive person to keep around. This is not the first time we've supported him, but it's well worth it. You can see that we get a great deal out of what we put into this. So thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Yes.
And part of that, refresh my recollection about how this whole connection with the Royals started, from which all these things seem to be springing.
Everybody else passed on an opportunity and my phone rang. So they were looking to put a drumline together for their opening day ceremonies when they did the rededication of Kaufman. It was 4 or 5 years ago, and nobody wanted. Their initial plan was to have about 500 drumline kids out on the field, and I didn't even want that. But you know, realistically, we had, I think it was 250 kids out on the field, and out of that, I vowed I'd never do it again. Our percussionists, when they went up there, were extremely professional. Everybody enjoyed working with them. They represented everyone very well. And 2 years later, they called and said, we want to do this again. And that was at a time when I had just come back from Pennsylvania. And they said, we know you're not near. I said, actually, I am. So we played and cut it down, did a smaller group, and then we started to discuss. And 2 months later, our drumline was playing up there full time. So.
Always answer that phone.
Yeah.
Please convey back to your troop that they are doing such wonderful work to represent this university.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving over to Faculty Senate, Dr. Hand.
We had our first faculty senate meeting on August 27th, and we rearranged the rooms, and we rearranged the room, and we had some cookies so that we could make sure that everyone knew it was a new year and that it was a new senate. And so it was a fresh start for everybody. What we did there was we discussed the progress of the things we've been working on since last year and what's going to happen next to each of those little items. There are several committees already at work, and one of them is the Committee on Committees, of course, and so what they're working on is studying the need for an ad hoc or possibly a permanent handbook committee so that the handbook will always be in some sort of repair or whatever, transition mode. I also want to say something about Noel Levitz. I was really impressed with the person I met. Was he the only one here, Jim?
We had 3 within a 2-week period.
Okay, well, the meetings I went to were very interesting. The data they were collecting was interesting, and I could tell that it was going to be useful, and they were really sort of talking about it in a way that you could tell that they were really trying to figure out what the data they had meant. It was really very interesting. I was happy with all the interactions I had with him, and I really think that he listened to me, and they listened a lot when they were here. And so I've been trying to express this to all the faculty that, you know, something good is in the works and that everybody needs to get on board, and let's make everything better now. And that's my report.
You know, when you serve cookies once, then
I know.
Just
yeah, and you know I hate cookies, so.
It'll be a dessert.
any questions for Dr. Hand? Okay, thank you. Our president of the staff senate is not with us today, so we'll move to student representative, Mr. Seigers.
Students started meeting last week, so we had our first full body meeting, and then this week we actually broke into our committees, which are working a little bit differently than they have in the past. We have completely new committee chairs this year. For capital improvements, our president announced that he wanted us to focus mostly dorm side this year, which is something that's different, something that we hadn't done too much before. After last year, I was approached by, I know Ron had approached me and a few others about redoing the sandpit volleyball court, and so students said it would purchase the sand for it. After seeing the effects that had on the student body, President Saunders really wanted to get the ball rolling on the whole dorm side thing. So capital improvements is mostly going to be focusing on that this year. Our other standing committee, public relations, in the past, it had been a little bit more complicated than that. It wasn't just public relations, any kind of event that Student Senate hosted. So, for example, St. Baldrick's, which is the biggest event that Student Senate puts together, was of course through public relations. This year, we actually had created an ad hoc committee separate than that handle things like philanthropy, things like St. Baldrick's, while PR is actually going to be able to focus solely on PR, since that's in itself a large enough job, as I'm sure Joanne can tell you. So. Yeah, so we broke those up into 2 separate committees now, hopefully making that a little bit more efficient, maybe even possibly creating events into a standing committee if it ends up going well after this year. On the other hand, our new treasurer, Cody Martin, for the finance committee, he's actually writing a new finance handbook, which will hopefully be finished within the next, he says the next few weeks. For me, a huge handbook. He's very ambitious, so I bet he could do it. But, so I'm just hoping for this semester. I'm like, wow. But yeah, so hopefully he's been going over handbooks of various universities and hopefully getting our finances a little bit more structured than even they had been in the past. So we have a pretty bright future for Senate this year, hopefully. Outside of that, Campus Activities Board, as most of you have seen, and as you can see through Darren's report, has put on a lot of high participated events. With those, we've had things, of course, like Lions Roar and Fall Forward that we've had within the last few years. But also outside of that, there have been a few larger things, like a zip line that they actually put, as most of you probably saw, all the way across the oval. That was very highly participated. We've had water wars yesterday at the Lion's Den. We had a guy known as the food dude who actually threw food at you, more or less, in the Lion's Den while telling you facts about food. It was very, very interesting, including one of our student senators who's actually the committee chair for public relations, actually participated in a hot sauce eating contest. So you could have seen a lot of interesting things yesterday, so it was pretty awesome. Within the next month, we have a lot more things coming out. A dance crew will be here on October 2nd. We're going to have an outdoor movie, which is actually going to be The Avengers, so one of the most highly rated movies in history right now, actually. It's going to be on the, I believe on the Oval, October 3rd. Magician's coming on the 17th, and then of course, as everyone else has stated, Homecoming's coming up, so it's going to be pretty busy next month for CAB. Outside of that, Greek recruitment, which actually Darren had all the numbers within his report that you can see, Greek recruitment was quite possibly one of the highest recruitments in history, especially within the fraternities. The sorority stayed pretty constant, a little bit above average. So I mean, it was a very, very high recruiting year. Coming up on the 26th of this month, there's going to be Saudi National Day of Celebration, headed by International Studies, that you can make your way out to. Also, if you've noticed, which Darren included this in his report too, which I found kind of interesting, we've taken a lot more advantage of Phelps Theater whenever it comes to student events. So we've seen a ton of movies being put on down there, bringing a lot more students on campus than we'd seen in the past couple of years. So it's been pretty exciting. Casablanca is going to be there on the 27th if anyone has any time. 2 different showings during the day. So, and then also the Fall Career Fair is being held next Wednesday. So should get a lot of students pretty pumped about getting jobs.
Questions, comments? Yeah. Thank you. I might just re-mention the movies. A lot of those movies are the movies through the decades in conjunction with the 75th anniversary. So they're taking a movie from each decade. And we had Gone with the Wind, and this time it's Casablanca.
All of those are listed on one of the pages of my report, and David noticed one of the things, if you'll look, the very last movie that they're going to show in the spring is actually The Hobbit. And The Hobbit is not even released to theaters until December, but we were able to work with the companies that the first week that it goes out for release through the movie companies before it goes to DVD, we were able to get that for later in the spring, and so we'll be one of the first people to show that outside the movie theater.
All right. Trendsetters.
Oh. And the movies really run the gambit from, like you said, from
Gone
with the Wind to The Hobbit to Teenage Ninja Turtles, I mean, it's Psycho, all kinds of things, so it's a lot of fun.
And these are open to the public as well, right?
Yes, they are.
Phelps Theater and Prime Student Center.
And we've actually had, we had a group of community members from Northwest Arkansas come for Gone with the Wind, so we're getting some good attendance at those.
Anything else from?
Well, if there's another hot sauce eating contest, would somebody please let me know?
Yeah, we'll set one up just for you.
That'll be your next fundraiser.
Just right when the top of my head starts to sweat.
That's just right, and after that, then you get in danger. So, while we're focusing on you, would you like to announce your fundraising adventure for tomorrow?
I don't know.
I think
Okay.
it's no Okay.
It may be the last time we see you.
Go.
Well, I did update my will and my estate plan, and I've left all that in the office with a letter of instruction to my children in case I go splat. No, our chairman, our chairperson, chairwoman, in the past iteration of her public service was involved with the Children's Center, Children's Advocacy Center, which at least in Southwest Missouri started here in Joplin, and a number of branch facilities have grown from the Joplin Children's Advocacy Center, including one in Nevada and one in Butler, and I can't remember the other two. And then there's I think there's one more.
Donald County or
Maybe 2.
I
Anyway, for those of you that don't know, the Children's Advocacy Center was created to provide help and assistance to children who are physically and sexually abused. There's a long legal history about how it came about that these entities were created in terms of assisting with the prosecution of folks who are accused of child abuse or child molestation, but that's not their primary purpose, but it was one of their original purposes. Their primary focus is to provide assistance and help and treatment, counseling for children who have been abused. We work with, and we, meaning my office, the prosecutor's office in Bergen County, works with the Children's Center in connection with children who present in cases that I prosecute as victims. And I'd always thought about jumping out of an airplane for a number of years, but never thought I'd ever do it. It wasn't high on my list.
It wasn't high on your list.
It wasn't high on my list. And then I had a little coronary artery renovation this summer, and shortly thereafter, the Children's Center decided that they were going to have where if you raise enough money, you get to jump out of an airplane with a parachute. So I thought I would tempt the fates and figured that since I was still around, I would take a jump out of an airplane. So tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., having raised enough money, A, to jump, and B, to have a film made of said jump. It does include a parachute. It also, they would not let me jump by myself. They require that I have some other jumper strapped to the back of me. I'm kind of disappointed about that, but that's okay. So they're going to take a number of us, I think there's 15 now together that are going to be jumping. We have raised money not only for the Children's Advocacy Center, but also for an organization called Sunflower House on the Kansas side that does similar work. So having updated the estate plan and given a letter of instruction to my children, I'm going to go to the Butler Airport tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. and do about 30 minutes of jump class, and then we're going to go up to 14,000 feet, and we're going to jump out and see what happens.
Not sure what one said in this situation, but we wish you well. Sorry to say break a leg.
I probably wouldn't even have done it except that because of the timing and also the fact that it was an opportunity to raise some money. And created a little website. It's called See If the Prosecutor Goes Splat.
Oh.
And I figured there were a number of folks who would at least be interested in placing some sort of bet on whether or not the prosecutor goes splat.
County jail probably had the biggest pool.
Well, I'm really disappointed in them. You know, I didn't get very many donations from the Vernon County Jail.
Prisoner population.
I'm a little more interested in it, you know. But I managed to raise a couple of $1,000, and that's what I want to do. So.
We appreciate your civic mindedness, and he's still open for donations if anyone wants to pledge to his adventure in the morning. I'm sure you would.
You might wear that.
Welcome that.
But
would you wear a 75th anniversary shirt?
Well, if you want.
Your southern color.
Well, I think I've got one of those now, don't I? Since I missed the last board meeting through bad planning, I now have that shirt. So I'll try and remember to do that.
Wear it for luck.
You can assume, well, whether I survive or not, you can watch the film falling to the ground screaming like a little girl with my 75th anniversary.
We won't go anywhere on that comment except to say you are not going to splat. I'm sure they wouldn't let you do it if it weren't perfectly safe.
Well, my secretaries are coming and they're bringing their snow shovels.
Oh. I'm going to move us right on along. Well, thank you for that. A little off agenda, but I thought it was an important contribution and should be a highlight in your life, that's for sure. Board committees, I believe the only board committee that's met has been Academic Affairs. Am I correct on that? Okay, do you have a report?
I'll try. I'll accept help if anybody wants to provide comments. We had a board meeting today to talk about a document that's gone all the way through. The president came up to us to look at on tenure. And we were privileged to have Dr. Latier had invited all the deans. Two representatives were there from the faculty senate, and we had two members there from the committee that worked on it, and a number of us on the board had some concerns. Some of us were educated. We learned a lot today. A number of us felt like, on the board, what was done so far was a very good start. It was a good step, and we were wanting to see a little bit more detail. We had some concerns from a different point of view, and the committee, as they explained to us, we're trying to work on something that would be able to be part of the faculty handbook. And some of us had envisioned something beyond that as part of a policy and procedure that would be useful on the whole campus. And so after discussion for about an hour, we finally ended up asking Dr. Speck if he would put together a committee which would include some representation from the board, with Dr. Buchanan appointing somebody to participate, to kind of better define our expectations and work on putting a full package together that we can look at. And that's where we ended it for that. The other thing that I asked today is, I asked Dr. LaPira, and I also asked Dr. LaPira if in future meetings, if she and the President's Council or whoever and the deans could provide us with right now what the university is doing to improve student learning outcomes. And the reason I say that is I'd mentioned that Dr. Sept uses the phrase students first, and students are our primary customers, and their learning is very important to us. So how well they learn is important to us. The faculty is really involved in this. They have primary responsibility for delivering that product. And so I asked Dr. LaPira if we, in future meetings, if she would educate us in some about what the university as a whole is doing to, and the key word is improve student learning outcomes. And I also asked Dr. Han as the representative for the faculty. And I know the faculty is doing a lot of things individually, and there may be some areas of excellence. If the faculty could provide to us the same thing of areas where we're improving our student learning outcomes, and this is in future meetings to talk about this. Anybody else? All the board members that are here right now were there. Anybody have any other comments? I appreciate everybody that was there, the deans, faculty, senate, and the committee members, because I felt like, and I didn't seem like anybody was reluctant to share their opinion with us.
Felt like it was very productive.
I did too.
A really good example of shared governance. I think that's the kind of collaboration that we're talking about in any of these decisions.
For some of us, I can't speak for the other board members, it gave me an opportunity to understand concerns from different sides on this too, which is always helpful when you have a better understanding of what somebody else thinks. Anyway, thank you, Dr. LaPira in particular, for inviting these people to help enrich our discussion.
And that gives me a chance to remind everyone that these committee meetings are open meetings, so you don't have to wait to be invited to attend them. But this particular one population was put together in a very helpful way. Okay, then moving to Dr. Sept, we will hear the President's report.
Some of this will be repetitive since the reports that you heard are so thorough. And I was at an off-campus meeting this week and gone for a couple hours, and someone said, well, how is the university operating without you? In fact, it operates well without me, and I hope I don't put my job in jeopardy by saying that to you all. But it's because we have such good people in place. You've heard the reports, you hear what they're doing. People are active across this campus. It's really quite amazing how everything's happening. But they do the work, they're empowered to do the work, and they're doing a great job. So I appreciate that.
I was told by a former supervisor that a mark of good leadership is that your people operate just as well with you present or gone as they do with you present. So
Good, I'll be gone more. Thank you for that authentication. We continue to work closely with Noel Levitz to find ways to tailor our processes, both in recruiting and retaining students. The Lion Pride tuition program you approved is one significant example of how we are reaching out to attract students. And from the reports I've received, from what Darren said, that program is working well. I expect that we will see more students in the future who will perceive Lion Pride tuition as a great incentive to attend Southern. In terms of quality education, we have yet another indicator that Southern provides excellent academic programs in the ABET accreditation for industrial engineering technology. ABET is a tough accrediting agency, and to have been chosen for a seal of approval is a major achievement. We now have another external authority saying that Southern has superior academic standards. The President's Council concluded its study of Academically Adrift, a book that has gained national attention for its criticism of higher education. Academically Adrift has itself been criticized on various grounds, but the President's Council found much in the book that made sense. We had vigorous debates about the various chapters, and as leaders at Southern, the members of the President's Council continue to keep abreast of national and international issues in education, that are framing discussions about the work we do to promote student success. We press ahead with program prioritization. The more we delve into the details of program prioritization, the more we see how challenging the implementation of a process that will review all programs on campus is. However, I can assure you that we are on track to meet the deadlines you have established regarding the spring budgeting process. I think it is vital to recognize that the time and effort required for the prioritization process is a major effort for this campus. We must all honor that effort by making data-driven decisions that will strengthen Southern. I will not shy away from making difficult decisions when the final report is given to you, but my goal is to make decisions that are fair and in keeping with the vast amounts of data we will gather. As with any decision-making process we make, professional judgment must have room to operate. So all decisions may not be universally hailed as correct, but along with all those engaged in the process, I will make decisions that are able to be defended. The Missouri Legislature's Joint Committee on Education is conducting hearings regarding its charge as outlined in House Bill 1731, which states, quote, "The Joint Committee on Education shall develop a comprehensive funding formula for Missouri public institutions of higher education by December 31st, 2013. The General Assembly shall implement a funding formula beginning fiscal year 2015, unquote. 3 meeting dates have been set for the committee's gathering of testimony, and I will provide testimony at one of the meetings, as will all COFI members. We have been given 5 questions to answer, and I expect we might be asked other questions by the committee members. I have significant concerns about the implementation of a funding formula, not the least of which is where the funding will come from. Given the ongoing state of the economy, I fully expect that a funding formula will be implemented not by the introduction of new money, but by the impoundment of a certain percentage of existing money allocated to higher education. Thus, it seems highly likely to me that 3 to 5% of our current funding will be impounded, and we would be required to demonstrate that we have met certain standards to be awarded whatever percentage of that impounded amount we merit. I continue to affirm that higher education is going through a tectonic shift that requires us to be creative and nimble as we face challenges that will reshape how we go about serving students. As a university, we are engaged in limbering up to participate effectively in those challenges. That concludes my report, and I'll address whatever questions you have.
Thank you. Questions? Thank you for your ongoing service and keeping us so well informed.
Thank you.
Is there any old business? Not. Is there any new business? Dr. LaFleur, do you have anything for us?
Yes, we have, there's been no new hires or retirements. We do have a resignation, Dr. Tor Mednick, an assistant professor of art, effective December 29, 2012, his resignation. And other action, not resignations, but some visa issues. Miss Beatrice Dubuis from the Foreign Language Department and Dr. Kim from the Communication Department will not be returning. And again, those are visa issues.
Is that effective immediately?
Yes.
As we discussed last week, bylaws really don't require, or last month, bylaws don't really require us as a board to approve these, so we just thank you for the information. Is there any other new business? Our next meeting will be October 19th. And as Ms. Ice mentioned, the Budget Audit Committee will meet on Tuesday, October 9th at 5:30. That's an open meeting to anyone who wishes to attend. And please be sure you have commencement dates on your calendars. And homecoming. We do need to have a brief executive session per revised statute Missouri 610.021 subsection 1 relating to legal actions, causes of action, or litigation involving a public governmental body and any confidential or privileged communications between a public governmental body or its representatives and its attorneys. So I need a motion to move to executive session, please.
So moved.
Mr. Fleischaker, second. Mr. Walter. We'll have a roll call vote.
Ron Anderson?
Yes.
Sherry Buchanan?
Yes.
Lynn Ewing?
Yes.
Jim Fleischaker?
Yes.
Richard Walter.
Yes.
And that meeting will be in room 343 of this building. And I believe Mr. Houston, Dr. Sept will be joining us, is that right?
Yeah, that's all that is.
Oh, okay. Thank you all. We will adjourn to the other.
Charlie Knotler. Pretty nice.
And, where's my football books sitting out there?
Who has Mr. Anderson's book?
John's got it. John and Pat. John